All right, you guys. So I was studying, and it's something that I want us to talk about. And have, if you guys have endured any kind of suffering, and I know you have, especially if you're followers of Christ, you have been through something. Have you all ever been in a season where it just seems like everything is happening back to back to back to back, and it's like, can I get a break? Can I get a break? Whether your car get repossessed, or whether you lose your house, or whether you lose a loved one, or whether you commit yourself to God, but now this door closing on you, that door closing on you, and it's like, okay, I'm trying to do the right thing here. Like, what? Like, what is this? Like, what's going on? And I'm glad you asked, because we're going to discuss that. All right. So, once again, we are coming out the book of Job. It is a lot to learn, you guys. When it comes to the book of Job, that can be like multiple segments that can be spoken on. All right. So look, right? Just check this. Of course, we know that in Job, the enemy gained permission to touch all that Job had. He wasn't allowed to touch Job, but he was able to touch what's around him, what's closest to him, right? Though he could not lay a finger on him himself. And, excuse me, I could just imagine how Job is feeling with this, right? Because chapter 1, starting at verse 14, it says, "And there came a messenger unto Job, and said, The oxen you were plowing, and the asses feeding beside them, and the Sabians fell upon them and took them away. Yeah, they have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell you." While he was still speaking, this person just gave Job some bad news. And before he could finish his statement, somebody else comes up. So somebody else is like, "The fire of God is falling from heaven and have burned up your sheep and your servants and consumed them, and I alone am escaped to tell you," right? And while he was still speaking, somebody else came up. And somebody else is like, there came somebody else also. The Chaldeans, made out 3 bands and fell upon the camels and have carried them away. Yeah, and slain the servants with the edge of the sword. And I only am escaped alone to tell you. And again, like, can Job catch a break? Can we catch a break? If you were in that season, or even in that season now, can you catch a break? Can I catch a break? Can we catch a break, Lord? I mean, what is this? Back to back to back to back to back, right? And on this final time, it says, while he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, "Thy sons and thy daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness and smote the 4 corners of the house, and it fell upon the young men, and they are dead, and I alone am escaped. And I only am escaped alone to tell you." This is what? How many incidents is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. That is 4 incidents back to back continuously of Job getting bad news. I mean, he just was not catching no type of break when it came to that. Now, when it comes to The Sabians were ancient people of South Arabia, right? What gets me though are the Chaldeans, right? And what verse is that with the Chaldeans? 17, right? The Chaldeans made out 3 bands and fell upon the camels. I'm from the hood. I'm from the streets. I'm taking 3 bands as money. They pushed up. The Chaldeans took his money, took his camels, and killed his peoples. In 3 of those, actually, in all 4. In all 4 of those incidences, Job lost people. He not only lost his belongings and what he had, he lost servants, people that he cared about. You know what I mean? And it's just like, wow. When the enemy has permission to touch you, you're going to lose people. There might be people, you might encounter deaths from friends and things like that, though you can't be touched. And the Chaldeans were basically people that were astronomers. They studied the stars, the moons, the skies. They were very much so into math and very much so into writing. And these people gonna push up and take his guala and kill his people and knock his folks off. You get what I'm saying? It's just not no discriminating, right? And in the midst of all that, and Job is a good one because I honestly don't know where I would stand with that. And I'm just keeping it a brick and I'm just being honest. But it says, in all this, Job sinned not, nor charged God foolishly. He didn't sit here and say, God, what are you doing? I thought you were on my side. I thought you wanted the best for me. Why would you do something like that? Like, you crossed the line with that. You crossed the barrier with that. And a lot of times that is how we will respond to something like that. And I don't care how much I follow God right now and how much I really do love my God. If I were to lose a child, I can't fathom that, let alone multiples, because it said his sons and his daughters. There were multiple of them. This is not just 1 or 2. He lost a handful of kids. I'm not there, you guys. I'm not. And I'm honest with where I'm at. I just can't fathom that. And it's like, even though we don't have that strength of Job to its entirety, it is still something to motivate us and to show us, look, you have individuals that have dealt with more than you are taking on right now. So I know you can do it. And you might not want to hear that, because if I lost kids, I don't think I would want to just keep hearing, oh, have faith, or oh, trust God. Ma'am, sir, just go. You could go somewhere with that. You could go home with that, because you don't know what I'm dealing with right now. Have you lost kids? You lost 1? Have you lost all of them? Have you lost all your children, where you have not one to claim as your own or to stand on? You know how we get when people think they've been in our shoes, but have you been in our shoes to its entirety to fully understand how I'm feeling and the extent of what it is right now? And the beautiful thing about that, you guys, is each time in those 4 verses that, in the 4 verses that we read with that, somebody kept saying, each person that came to him telling him what was going on said, and I only am escaped alone to tell you. You guys, there are going to be people that see what's going on with us and see what we're dealing with and encountering, that was there in their own mess when it was their season of overcoming heartache like that and trials like that. Spirit, help me. They were in their season where they saw a lot going on in front of them, and only they escaped from that. What if they had family members that didn't escape from what they escaped from? Molestation, rape, being molested and raped by your dad or by your mom or your uncle, or people being molested by their brothers and their sisters and the preachers and the pastor. You guys, this stuff really takes place. This stuff really happens. Raped and molested by neighbors. But they alone escaped through that to be a testimony for somebody else. And guys, it also shows you can't save everybody when you're walking through a particular door. You have to walk through that door first. You might be the only one escaping. These people that was coming to tell him this were the only ones escaping. And I only am escaped alone to tell you. How many of y'all have to escape alone in order to tell somebody else what's going on? In order to tell somebody else your story, and in order to tell someone else your testimony? Do you have to escape alone? Do you have to come out of stuff alone? Because Job had to come out of it alone. His friends all in his ear, telling him to turn his back against God. Even his wife is like, all right, maybe we should start listening to your peoples, because it's not like God wouldn't do that. You just really, what God we serve would let something happen like that. You really just need to curse him. He was in it alone. Just because Job didn't go against God, who's to say he didn't slightly feel some type of way mentally or spiritually? Like, who's to say he didn't feel touched? Because he was human. Job is not no superhero. He was human. And I strongly believe with him being human, all those feelings and those thoughts had to flood his mind. And that's why his friends and his wife were speaking like that, to try to see if they can tackle his mind and maybe the thoughts that were coming and flowing to get him to curse God. But Job was a man of faith, and he stood on that faith no matter what. Despite who is in our ear, you guys, it's time to stand on faith no matter what. It's time to be unmovable. It's time to be unshakable. It's time to get out of this muck, and it's time to get out of poverty. It's time to get out of having poverty mindsets. It's time to stop going back to environments that are no longer working for us. It's time to stop going back to people that are no longer working for us. It's time to stop going back to drugs that interfere with our walk and who we are and who we see ourselves as and where it is that we're going. It's time for you to stand. It's time for you to be unmoved. It's time for you to be unshaken. It's time for you to be unshakable. It's time for you to know that you know that you know. It's time to finally stand in something without moving from it. A lot of us depend on a lot of us defend our loved ones more than we defend God. That not ought to be so. That's backwards. You alone will escape to tell someone what happened and what you overcame. You alone will be able to do that. And you are going to come out. You are going to come out in the end. You are going to come out prosperous. You are going to come out even better than prosperous, but as an example. As an example that you can get through this. As an example, like you can do it. As an example, like I did it and I know what it feels like and I know what it's going to take and you can do it too. Be an example. Be willing to look stupid for God. Be willing to look foolish for God. People are going to talk about you and turn their back on you. Be okay with that. For God. Get up. Get up, baby. Whoever you are, you can get up and cry. And tell yourself you're not moving from who you know you are in Christ. You're not moving from trusting Him. You're not moving. That's how bad you trust Him. You won't move no matter what. Get planted. Don't move. I know that sounds easier said than done. And we're all in different situations. Connect with people that can relate to you so you could see someone overcome what it is you're trying to overcome. Speak to each other about things. Though you have to come out alone, you're not alone. You're in good hands. I love you.